Alright guys, before this video starts, I just want to let you guys know that I am reviving my Patreon. The first upload that I'm going to be uploading there is literally like all the chugs I made from the project I'm about to show you guys. So if you guys want all the bass chugs, even some new bass chugs that I made just for this like little sample pack I'm doing on my Patreon, you guys can go subscribe down there. And now that I'm doing the whole 2 video a week schedule, I should have more content to upload on my Patreon as well. You also get like early access to tunes before they come out. You even get access to my unreleased playlist on SoundCloud, where like all my SoundCloud like IDs go, and like the downloads are turned on if you're a DJ and want to play them out or anything like that. Enjoy the video. What is up, everybody? My name is Timekeeper. Welcome to the second video of my new upload schedule. I'm doing 2 videos a week on these tutorials. Today, I am going to be teaching you guys, well, I did teach you guys ages ago. This was a video that I uploaded like ages ago when I was producing in Reaper. It's the how to quarter note sustain dubstep, but I'm doing a 2026 version because I've gotten way better at production since then. And honestly, I decided to try quarter note again, and I've honestly gotten good at it because, I was talking to a quarter note artist that makes this type of dubstep, and I asked them, I was like, why does my quarter note suck? And they're like, what key are you making it in? I'm like, oh, you know, D sharp and stuff. And he's like, try C sharp, because a lot of quarter note producers produce in C sharp. I know like Vulcan and all those other producers like don't always produce in C sharp, but I know Soul Valiant does all the time. So we're gonna go over the build up here. I'm actually gonna go over the first drop and the second drop. So let's take a listen. Alright, that's it. This is like an unreleased track that I'm working on. I called it Hellhole. It originally was a live tool. Like, I started this sub-series for myself called Quarter Note Live Tools, where I make these like quarter note sustain drops as live tools, but I was using the Excision and Jessica Audifred's song Rise as like the live tool, but I ended up turning it into its own original song. Anyway, let me go over the basses. So pretty much a lot of these basses here are bounced to audio because when I make chugs like this, when I have like a bunch of chug layers, I always bounce it to audio just so it doesn't use that much CPU. But I actually have the preset here that I used to make this. So how you make a basic chug is, this is what I like to call the Soul Valiant method, because I saw a video by Wasted where he like had Soul Valiant on a production session, and this is kind of what I learned from Soul Valiant. Basically detune the unison, turn the random all the way down, and everything's being controlled by one LFO. So we got Squelchy 1, so it's pretty much like you can use like any wavetable, I feel. So you have this at -2 and this at -1. You have this at like a high octave, I think like 2 octaves up from like C0 or something. And then like you just like bring these down, and so you can kind of control a little more. So we got FM from B. We got some sync modulation, a little bit of sync modulation. We got bend minus. The detune knobs are being automated. We also got some filtering going on here. All being controlled by one LFO, by the way. For effects, we have just simple hyperdimension. We have some tube distortion. We have some equalizer, and then we have a combs filter, which kind of he didn't have it automating in his patch, but I decided to automate mine just to make it sound a little more cleaner. And then I have a compressor at the end. So basically, this is just a preset. It's off right now, and this is the resampling thing. So like, I can easily manipulate this and just resample the basses. Like example, like I can just like change a knob. And then just like resample that. And then there we go. Now we got a pretty decent chug bounced audio. I might actually save that because I might actually use that for something. But anyway, let's talk about the main elements that you can actually hear in the drop. This is a sustain. This is a part of a sustain preset I made called just sus. I made this because what I did is I put a cliptic sample in the oscillator, and I changed the warp mode to diode 2, because in Serum 2 you can now use distortion as warp modes, which I think helps a lot with sustains. And pretty much like without it, kind of sounds like that, but with diode, kind of brings out more tone in this in the sustain. We have a little bit of bend going on. The only really thing that this is automating is the sub, but the sub is cut out, so the sub can basically go off. We have a high notch filter to kind of bring out tone. In terms of effects, we just got a distortion and a compressor. Nothing really too crazy. I usually add effects as I go if I want to make it more different. But yeah, that's our first sustain layer. We got some other elements kind of coming in here. We got really high lasers. This was an excellent preset, and it kind of was already going in the direction of a laser, so I think I just like tightened up the LFOs and like up the pitch. I think that's all I did. And this one I think is like another, yeah, this is a Virtual Riot preset. Just to kind of do like a da 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 sort of thing. And then this is another sustain layer. Kind of a nice low end sort of brah. Because I feel like without it, this is what it sounds like without it. With it. I don't know if you can hear it because it's like very subtle, but yeah. So in terms of the audio, we got this layer right here, which are all different combinations of different chugs I made from that patch I showed you before. This is pretty much the same one. I kind of created two audio packs just so that part kind of becomes a little more clear. And then I have a Vulcan sustain. This I added recently. This isn't in the original like exported version I've been playing out. I added this recently because I subscribed to Vulcan's Patreon. Shout out to Vulcan, by the way. I think you guys should check out his Patreon because his Patreon is actually very informative. So I had this sustain kind of under it, just to kind of add a little bit of like background texture, because like with it, without it, I think even without it, it sounds fine, but I just added it for like a nice little texture. And then we got some more chugs here. And then the only like outside, well, other than the Vulcan sustain, the only outside chug that I have here is these Resurrect chugs. And then of course I have a sub rack. Now this sub rack actually might look a little bit different. Actually, I do need to fix something here. The sub rack might actually look different to my traditional normal sub rack. One of my producer friends taught me that it depends what frequency that you're on, or actually it depends what key you're on. So say if I'm in like C sharp, then like this would need to go down to like 100 hertz, but it depends on what key you're using for this. So basically this is just tweaking, and I managed to get it to where it's cutting out like a lot of like harsh frequencies, just so like it would leave headroom for everything else. And then for drums, we have this NASCO ride. And then we have this Barely Alive hi-hat that I use all the time in my productions. You hear that hi-hat in literally almost every single song. And then here for the kick and snare, we have the kick that I always use in my productions, the Barely Alive kick. It's just punchy and ready to go. Now, this is a rack I don't think I showed you guys. This is my kick process rack. I copied this down from Resurrect when he like showed one of his projects on his Patreon. He showed how he processes his kicks, and he uses a rack similar to this. So I created this just so if the kick isn't like punching through enough, I add this rack just so it's a little bit more punchy, because without it, it kind of sounds like really stompy, and with it kind of tailors down the distortion a little bit. And here we got a excellent bro step clap. There's really no clap layers because this clap is pretty much doing the job just fine on its own. And then we have an EQ8 kind of tailoring out some of the lows, because without it kind of didn't punch as hard. So we have that kind of in. For vocals, we have all these risers, by the way, these excellent risers in there. And we have, I recently had acquired the Drop Gun Samples Cyclops pack, and there's some pretty cool vocals in there, like this. Welcome to the hellhole. And this vocal kind of encouraged me to call the ID Hellhole, because, you know, welcome to the hellhole. Like, that's just such a menacing layer, or vocal, sorry. In terms of like the second part, it's pretty much mostly the same, but mostly I just exported like new sort of chugs, and then the sustain is a little different. I forgot to go over something here. I have this plugin here called Isotope Trash 2. This plugin is pretty cool when it comes to sustains. I went over this plugin in my sustain video, how to make sustains using Serum and Massive, with the method that Cheap Thrill taught me with sustains. But this is a really useful plugin. I almost always use the buzzsaw preset, and then I always like go into the filter and I EQ out the lows. The reason why is because if the lows are there, it adds really unnecessary muddiness to the sound. Even if you have a sub before the distortion, it kind of brings the sub back, which I hate. But hey, what are you gonna do? So obviously there's some new chugs exported, and everything kind of sounds different. We also got this excellent like growls. And then I forgot to go over the beginning sound here. This beginning sound actually was an accident. I was messing around with the same sustain preset. I ended up getting this from one of the Monster wavetables. It just sounds so much like a Resurrect beginning sustain, so like I just had to use it. So it's pretty much the same sustain patch but with different wavetable. So for the second drop here, we kind of go into a little bit of like a bro step sort of thing here. Ooh, still have something solo. I think it's pretty much the same sounds, but we're adding some Resurrect sustains in there too. Like I have this one movement because I didn't want to use the same sustains from the drop because it would just make it sound a little too generic in my end. So I added some like sustain samples in there. This is just me being lazy. I added some Resurrect sustains and then the Reborn sustain in there too. And of course made some new chugs out of that patch I showed you guys before. I just made some like new chugs. That's a Resurrect chug. So we're pretty much using like kind of the same stuff from the previous drop. And then for this one, it's just like a really... And in terms of drums, I'm not using my signature pixel snare. I'm using this one here, this bro step snare, because it sounded like just so heavy and so punchy. Now, this is kind of like my sort of thing where like I wanted to combine elements of bro step with quarter note. It's not really there yet. I'll probably do another song that's using like more bro step oriented basses with it. And Yeah, something I want to mention is like you don't have to make quarter note in C sharp. In my ears, it just sounds the best in C sharp. You can make quarter note in like D sharp. I know Vulcan uses D and D sharp a lot. You don't have to make quarter note in C sharp. It's just, in my opinion, C sharp just sounds the best. So yeah, that's pretty much how you make quarter note in 2026. This was probably a better example than the example I showed you last time. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.